We're back. I like this hook. You got a book you want to tell us about? Well, let's talk. There's no other place to do it. Only on Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze.
Welcome. We are live. This is Catch the Craze. I am your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I am with
George Medina. Listen, I think that I've been thinking about this whole intro thing. I think you should just introduce me, and then I'm like, hey, what up? And then I go, no?
Nah.
All right, cool. Just say my own name. Find a way.
All right, so let's go to show intro.
Sure.
We're back. I like this hook. You got a book you want to tell us about? Well, let's talk. There's no other place to do it. Only on Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze.
Welcome. I am Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I'm here with none other than the dreamer, the Medina. His name is
George Medina.
This guy's killing me.
All that energy, and I'm just like, George Medina.
Yeah, I know. That's it. All that. It's like the hype for the movie, and then you go to the movie, and the movie just bombs.
Wow. Speaking of movies, you gonna go see the Joker?
Am I gonna see the Joker? Maybe, potentially.
Really?
I heard it's very dark, and I'm not really sure. What about you?
I wasn't sure about it at first. And then the more I see previews and I hear critics, and I reread The Killing Joke yesterday, and I'm like, I think I want to go see this movie. So yeah, I'm gonna go check it out.
Well, speaking of the Joker, have some fun facts without side facts. So let's look at some fun facts. So basically, the first appearance of the Joker was 1940, and the person who came up with the concept of the Joker was Jerry Robinson, in partnership with Bob Kane, and the story was fleshed out by Bill Finger. That's really so when you brought up the idea of us doing a segment on the movie The Joker, I thought I did do a little bit of my homework, because I'm not a Joker aficionado or whatever you called it. I'm not an expert.
No.
So I decided to go out and do some homework.
So you don't like the Joker? Like you've never been a fan of the Joker, so to speak?
No, I am a fan of the Joker. I think he makes the perfect arch rival for Batman. I think he is the yin to Batman's yang.
Yeah.
As far as villains are concerned, I think that's a great question. Is there a specific villain that really stood out to me? I mean, Joker's infamous. Lex Luthor. Like Lex Luthor to Superman is Joker to Batman. So I think it's pretty unique. I mean, when you think about how many people have played the Joker, right? So if we look at on the screen, I think you had Cesar Romero was the first one. Then you had, and that was back in 1966. Then Jack Nicholson in 1989 in a Batman film. Then Heath Ledger in 2008, and I think Heath Ledger really raised that bar. And then you had Jared Leto in Suicide Squad, and now Joaquin Phoenix. So I think it's then you think about the cartoon, Mark Hamill, none other than Luke Skywalker, is the guy behind the animated series, the voice behind it. Right, the fact that it's been around since 1940, that's pretty significant.
I mean, he's my favorite villain, to be honest with you. I mean, when I think about villains, like I think about the Joker, and that was part of the reason why I was like, damn, do I want a movie about his origin? Like, is that gonna is that gonna humanize him and make me feel bad for him rather than say, hey, this is a bad guy, I hate this guy.
Right.
So, but no, I mean, from what I hear, it's gonna be, you know, he may be nominated for like an Oscar or something. Like this movie's supposed to be that good. So I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, think about it. I love the what was it, Jared Leto? His version in the Suicide Squad. I thought that was brilliant. You know, I think the bar was set, and anybody who steps into that role, you either have to go extremely sinister.
So you think the bar was set by Heath?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know, that was just like.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever seen that character in those multiple dimensions the way he brought it out. I mean, he brought it a whole different, a really diabolical comedic style to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he was nuts.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
So what is it about this one that appeals to you?
About this story?
Yeah.
Honestly, the critics, I think, are what's telling me. Because at first, I swear to God, when I first heard about it, I was like, the Joker, come on. We don't need a movie about the Joker. Why are we going to do a movie about the Joker? Like, and then the more I hear about, you know, just, you know, what people are saying. And so I'm curious. Now I'm like, let me go check it out for myself.
Right.
So that if I do hate it, at least I know that why I hated it or I saw it. And I
Right.
said, okay, I don't like it, you know? Like I know you said you mentioned the Leto Joker, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I think Leto was trying too hard, and I do. I mean, and I think that some people will disagree, but I think that he did. Like I think after, like you said, the bar was set with Heath, right? Heath set that bar, and then everybody behind him is like, okay, no, I gotta make that better. And then you try extra hard to be better than that. When Heath stepped into the role, it was like, I'm just gonna do this the way I want to do it. Like I don't know he was thinking about Jack,
Right.
You know, because until that moment, I think Jack was the one. Like he was the Joker, right? Jack was the Joker. So,
see, I think
yeah. What do you think?
Heath's version of the Joker was psychotic. Like you can tell he was off, and there was no sense of reality. Like it was the world that he conjured. You can tell that he was in that world.
Yeah.
I think Leto's version was more,
He was a rock star, right?
yeah, stylistic. You know what I mean? I think it was more playful yet vicious. You know what I mean? And I think it played well with Harley Quinn's character. I think that role for that movie was perfect.
Yeah.
In its own, I'm not sure, but they played so well together.
Did you see? Because I heard that there was like an extended version of the movie. Did you see the extended version, or did you see the version that was in theaters? Which one did you see of the Suicide Squad?
I didn't see the extended version. I saw the one in theaters.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that
Because they said that they cut a lot of his scenes out, so
Right.
there was a lot more of him, and I don't know that there was enough. Like, unfortunately for me, it was a very unforgettable role. Like I don't remember like if you ask me to name a scene, maybe just from what I saw in the previews is what I remember. But
Right.
other than that, that's it. You know.
Oh, I remember the scene where you had what's his name? Common was the other mob guy, and they're sitting at the bar, and Harley Quinn is dancing, and he's like, "Oh, you got a bad girl, whatever." And that's when he realized he goes, and so Joker took offense to it, and then when he says you can have her, whatever, but yeah, he wound up killing him. That scene was brilliant, and I knew it. I said, dude, once he made that comment, I said, oh, you're done. You're done. There's just a line you don't cross with somebody who's psychotic.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That scene, I remember. When he broke her out of jail. I mean, she stood out so much more for me. She was the breakout. I mean,
she really, yeah.
You know, I think she has a spin-off movie that's coming out as
Birds
well.
of Prey, yeah.
Birds of Prey.
Coming out in February, I think, 2020.
Yeah, I saw the trailer already.
Rosie Perez is in it.
Really?
I was like, Rosie, okay.
Rosie, yep. And it's been a minute since we've seen her too, right?
Yeah. I don't know if on Netflix there was a show. She's Gotta Have It. They did a show on Netflix, and she's in season 2. Rosie.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
So something just popped. She's like, bing. What happened?
No, I'm just Oh yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. I just lost you for a sec. Yeah, no. So the Jared Leto scenes, I just, maybe I was just biased. Maybe I was just still like, oh yeah, I like Heath so much that whatever, this guy's gonna suck or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think you're so
Maybe.
Yeah, but again,
but I thought Heath was gonna suck too. I thought he was gonna be terrible, and I'm like, how's he gonna be better than Jack? And all of a sudden, he knocked it out the park. So
everybody thought Ben Affleck was gonna suck, and I think he did a really good job.
No, he did.
I think it was better than the voice of what's his face? Who was the Batman before? Ben. Christian Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale. Yeah.
I just hated the way he was trying to disguise his voice.
Yeah, the way he would say this. Yeah, I know. Yes. I was like, what are you doing, Doug?
It was like his sexy voice or something. I didn't get it.
Yeah. I agree.
But as we're talking on this show, we're supposed to have Jason Kruse live on this show today. Unfortunately, Jason Kruse is a freelance animator, and he had a last minute gig. So we had to pre-record his show. We're gonna play that segment later on during this show, and then hopefully people would join on and we can chat it up. Because we feel like we just got to the party and no one's dancing. So, we had an interesting conversation with Jason Kruse. It's about 22-minute conversation, really good. We walked into the life of an animator and a freelance animator, and what it was like for him to secure a deal, lose the deal, start over, and rebuild his brand. So that's gonna be a fantastic story. Back to the Joker.
Little segue. So I do want to see it. I do want to check it out. I want to see how Joaquin Phoenix does with the Joker, and a lot of it. Reading. Have you ever read The Killing Joke?
No.
Dude, it's good, man.
I know you read it.
Yeah, I got a copy. I'll leave it here if you want. Yeah, check it out. Alan Moore, dude, he did, it's an amazing book to read. It's just so easy to read. It goes by so quick. But the way he writes the Joker is that psychotic, crazy, demented, villain. And some of the scenes in The Killing Joke, I'm sure everybody read it, or most people have read it. But he has a flashback scene about him as a comedian, like a struggling comedian trying to come up. And it doesn't work out. So a lot of what I think is in the Joker in the movie that's coming out this weekend is based on some of that stuff. That he's a comedian coming up, not making it, falls in love.
So this is the rise of what made him who he is.
Correct.
Not necessarily any of his arch nemesis like Batman in it. It's just all Joker.
I think it's all Joker. I mean, I've never, usually there'll be like some leaks or whatever about who else is in it, but I think this is all just Joker. And the thing about this movie, I think that is interesting to me too, is that the Joker is such a psychotic animal, right? That in this book, and you'll read it in this book, he has a line that says, "That's just my story the way I remember it." But he's like, I prefer to remember my life as a multiple choice.
Right.
So it could be this, it could be that. So you don't know what his real story is.
Right.
That's just a story he's telling you, but you're not sure if that's exactly the story. So I don't know that this story they're alluding to that.
Right.
This is just a version. Because even in The Dark Knight, remember when every time he would tell how he got those scars, he'd change it. He'd say, one day might be whatever it was, but he'd always change it. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I think it's gonna be interesting, I think.
We'll see. I mean, I think one thing I stopped doing was criticizing the actors selected for these parts until I see what they've done with it.
Right.
Because we're surprised each and every time.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I think I think Ben Affleck's a perfect example of that. Yeah, I think everybody was cranking on him.
No, he's a good example of that. Heath is a good example of that. You know who was a good example of that too? Wolverine. When Hugh Jackman was cast, remember when that was cast? They were like,
he's too tall. Yeah, he's skinny.
Yeah, he's too tall.
Yes.
And even when Heath was cast for the Joker, I was like, his voice is too deep.
Right.
Like, how are they gonna do that? His voice is real deep, but he really became that freaking character, dude. Like, it was just crazy. It was insane.
It was the best one.
Yeah.
I mean, the best version of the Joker. I mean, I think when we grew up, it was very comedic and it was funny and it was giggly. And then they just went a whole different route with
even
it.
Jack was funny. Like even in his, whenever he did whatever, like when he kills one of his henchmen, he's like, give me a gun, gives him the gun and shoots him. Like he was, he was just, not that that's funny, but that was funny. Like he was funny. So yeah, no, definitely for sure.
Well, welcome Keith Murphy. Thank you for joining us on Cash to Craze. We are currently talking about the upcoming Joker flick. And George was sharing his what is it? The
Killing Joke.
The Killing Joke by Alan Moore and Brian Boland.
So funny story about that, Alan.
Funny thing happened to me on the way
artist, about the artist, right? So Brian Boland. So when he drew the book,
right?
And in the original version, somebody else colored it. The coloring wasn't what he wanted. So in this edition, he recolored the whole thing.
Right.
So this is his version of the colors of the book because he didn't like the way the original colorist colored the book. He just felt like he didn't capture the palette.
Right.
Like it was too dark. And if you look at it here, you can see kind of what he's talking about. And there's a forward and even afterwards he talks about it. But yeah, it's interesting because that happens, right? Like you draw something.
Yep.
And you're hoping, the colorist comes in, enhances it, and then you get it, and you're like,
we've had that.
I don't think I would have done it that way.
Yeah, I think we've experienced that,
So,
and I think
that's interesting.
And we just recently had that conversation when we were talking about Forbidden, and I think you had a colorist in mind or whatever, but I didn't think the style fit the dramatic feel that I wanted for the book. So it's important.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
So I think that's important in itself to be able to make certain that everything matches up. So I get it, 100%.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, man. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna go this weekend. I'm sure it's gonna be jam packed. That place is a madhouse. And also the Comic-Con is going on this week, and actually started today. Aníbal just he actually texted me from when he was over there.
He was over there?
He was over there today. Yeah, he was dressed up as the character from Scream.
He got dressed up. Aníbal's a cosplayer.
Well, I don't know if he's a cosplayer. But
he's a cosplayer. Aníbal's a cosplayer. Oh, snaps! Nothing wrong with cosplayers, because if you're a cosplayer and you you've been a cosplayer your whole life, and you go to shows, reach out to us. We'd like to hear from you.
No, definitely. That's big, dude. Cosplay,
huge.
Yo, it's funny how big it's gotten since, if you go to the conventions now, people are selling, the material. There's like a whole industry. There's magazines about it. Like there's a big
and then they
industry.
got they have like the superior cosplayers. They have these ones that have like millions of followers.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing how big. I remember we did Anime Fest, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of cosplayers that were there, and then they just took over San Diego Comic-Con. They're everywhere. Now it's just like this phenomenon.
Yeah, before it was just, I'm going to go dressed up as my favorite character to go to the show.
Yeah.
But now it's like, and it was just like homemade, whatever. Or you went and you bought a costume. Now they make them. Like they're made and they look like the real thing. Like it's amazing.
It's cray.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's it's pretty cool. I think you brought up another thing you wanted to cover today, which was UFOs, right? So,
well, yeah, piggybacking on Lewis's interview from yesterday, right? So he talked about UFOs, and you were asking him a question because you seemed like you were very, very interested about that. And obviously, I mean, there's an alien in my toilet, duh.
Yours too?
What's that?
Yours too?
But so what? I mean, what is it? What is it about you? Like, what is it that interests you about UFOs?
Fun fact. So my uncle worked for an organization where he made a lot of gadgets and stuff, and he was a big UFO and sci-fi enthusiast. And we used to sit on the roof, the garage roof, the roof of the garage, and we had a telescope, and he would tell me about all the stars and what they meant or whatever. And he got me into UFOs. And I started reading up on MUFON and all the different species. And I just, at that time, I was just like, and my friends were all hooked up onto it. Fast forward way ahead. True story. It was me, my friend Raymond, my friend Angel. We were Rockaway Beach. It's about midnight. We're sitting on the beach. We're getting ready to go for a swim. So we were young. We were in high school, and we wanted to become Marines. And so on the weekends, we would go to PT and train with instructors. They pick us up, and we do all these exercises. But so we were, we were fearless and young. So we're going to go into the ocean and go for a swim at midnight at Rockaway Beach.
Are you a good swimmer? Can you swim?
Yeah. And yes. So we get into the water. No, first we're sitting on the bleachers. This is how it started. We're sitting on the bleachers and we see an object in the sky. It looks like a star. It's a star really, really, where the stars are. The star just started moving. It's like, oh, you see that star just move?
Sure.
And then the star split into three. And it chased each other. And it just, like, they were doing these maneuvers and then it just disappeared into the horizon. And it scared the living bejesus out of all of us. And we're like, whoa. So disappeared.
Were you under the influence of anything?
No, at that time, no.
Okay.
Because we were really hardcore training.
All right.
And so we got into the water. I'm waist deep going in, getting now chest deep. And now this big giant splash, like a freight train just hit the ocean.
What?
I turn and I see my friends Raymond and Angel booking on the sand. They're already on the sand.
Damn.
And screaming, help. And I'm still trying to get out the water. I don't even want to look back. I'm hustling. I'm like, oh, help. And we book and we're running. And we don't even look back. We don't want to look what it is. No one. And we run into his building. He lived in the projects. We get into, he lives like on the 18th floor of the projects. We go to his bedroom. We turn off the lights. We look out the window. And we can't see anything. That was the scariest part of my life. And everything, I was like, yo.
So did you see the splash or you heard the splash?
I felt the splash. The splash was right, like at least the water hit us. So, but it sounded like either an elephant or something hit the water so damn hard. It wasn't normal. It wasn't a rock. And it wasn't something that we can lift up and throw. It was just something very heavy because it was a big, giant splash. And they were gone. Those guys, I don't know how they got so fast out that water.
And it was shallow water. It wasn't deep. Like you were still.
I was chest high.
Right, but you were still touching the ground.
Yeah, I was still walking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was shallow.
But try running in that.
No, of course.
Yeah. And so that's why I was really impressed at the fact that these guys were booking.
Well, yeah.
So we never talked about it, right? Because no one's going to believe us. They're going to think we're a bunch of crackpots with kids, whatever. I think we were like 15, 16. We never talked about it again. Fast forward, college. I do a paper on UFOs. I got an A+, mind you.
Did you throw that in there? What had happened?
No. I did a whole story on the article on the LA invasion, the war over LA.
Okay.
Remember when the military, it's a true story, it's all over the LA Times. The military was bombing this, they thought they were being attacked by a foreign country. And they was shooting in the sky, firing.
When was this?
This was back in, I can look it up in a minute.
Yeah.
So I did a whole paper on that, the background in it, and MUFON and everything. And I was taking school at night, so I was full time. I was working during the day and then at night. So I'm doing I'm presenting my report around 9 p.m. And so when I was done, everyone was so shook in the class that people were nervous. A couple of the students, girls, mind you, it's college. Girls are crying because they were scared to go home because I was so passionate in the way I told that story, so I scared the crap out of everybody. So that's how I love X-Files. I
you ever watch the movie? The show Roswell.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes. X-Files. I remember Communion. You got to see Communion. So I love all that stuff. Like one of the things I want to do next year is go to either the Alien Expo or the UFO Congress, which were the biggest shows. One's in Nevada and the other one's, I forget where it is, Phoenix, Arizona, to present duty.
But what's the thing that fascinates you the most about UFOs, about aliens? Like what is it that
I think it's the fact that, number one, it's unrealistic to think that we're the only ones on this planet. That's number one. Number two is there's just too many things throughout history, whether from hieroglyphics or language, the way things were built back in the days when we didn't have technology, we didn't have cranes, we didn't have all of these
like the
things.
pyramids and
Yes.
bridges.
It's just impossible. And the way things line up around the planet, I think that it's just too impossible to think we're here alone. It would be too arrogant to believe we are. So for me, that is the reason why I am such a UFO.
So do you touch on any of those things in the story? Like, are you exploring any of that, like in a funny way?
Yes.
But are you exploring some of those things that you find fascinating about it, or is it just gags and
No, there's a scene where there's an underground base in the middle of the desert, and the agent that's assigned to go after and track the UFO that's crashed on the planet. He's walking through the corridors, and you see different doors with signs with the different types of aliens that rumored to have crash landed on Earth or whatever. So I touch on those things through humor. I think what happens is this more and more and more. Most recently, and I'm showing it right now on the screen. Navy confirms videos are real of UFOs, right? Military installations off limits. The UFO Congress. This is the event that's going to come up on the screen. That's the event that every year.
Yeah.
There's just too many people that I've either experienced it or believe it as well. And I just think, why is it that we always try to debunk it as a society? Why is it always a blimp? Why is it always some sort of excuse other than the fact that it's a natural phenomenon?
See, I think that the government back in the days when we probably first encountered aliens here in the United States, I think that they thought that it would cause mass hysteria, right? Like people would be like, "What? We're being invaded," and it would cause this thing, and everybody would be afraid. I think that the government now realizes that if that was to happen, I think people would be like, "What? That's awesome!" Like we have been so desensitized by what we see on TV that an alien invasion, cool. Like I don't even think that people would react the way they would have reacted in the 60s, 70s if they heard about these aliens.
Right.
Because I agree with you. If you think about it, right? And they'll say some people say this, that some of the technology we got, contact lenses, for example, where'd that come from? Like all of a sudden, these little lenses, we can see through them and we can put them in our eyes and they don't hurt us. And I have them on right now. I don't feel. Like where did that technology come from? Like are scientists that smart that they were able to create that? So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that it is true. It's like it's. I mean, how can we be the only people here?
We're not.
Yeah.
We're not.
Sure.
My gut tells me we're not. That experience that we had, this was back in where was it? Early 90s, maybe. I was young, so maybe late 80s.
Where you had another experience?
No, that was when I saw that.
Oh, that's what that was.
And anything else, I ain't talking. But it was enough that we didn't talk about it for a long time because we were scared. We're like, if we talk about it, we're gonna disappear. Because that's how we've read all these articles about
Of
people
course.
disappearing and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So it was
yeah,
like
But
we kept it a lit, and we were 16, 16 years old.
Yeah.
So that was probably a 19. I ain't gonna date that.
I don't know that.
Like when Moses parted the sea. That's
Wow.
how far it was.
But you know what? If you were a 16-year-old in 2019 and that happened, you probably would have swum towards whatever landed in the water.
If it wasn't for the fact that the guys ran and left me, because I was like, yo, I'm gonna disappear. I didn't know what it was.
That fear is gone now, though. That's what I'm saying. Like today's kids would probably swim towards that, grab their phones, record it, put it on Instagram, make it a story. Like that's the society we live in today. So it's hard to scare us.
Imagine someone taking a selfie and being lifted in the air.
Hey, word. What? You know what I'm saying? He'll throw the phone down to his friends. Yo, post that.
Evidence.
Yeah, of course. It's a
that's
different. It's like a whole different world now. We live in a different society. We're not scared anymore of those things. Those things don't scare us anymore.
Right.
Whereas you, 16 in 1990, whatever, you were like, we're gonna disappear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my gut tells me it's just a matter of time. I would say in our lifetime there will be some sort of introduction.
You think so?
I think in our lifetime.
Yeah.
If we don't get hit by a car or anything like that. Right. But I think in our lifetime we will be some form of introduction would happen, whether by choice or not.
Do you think it'll be? You're talking about they would make contact with us
Yes.
in our lifetime. Not that the government will finally say, you know what, we did have one. Here's the carcass.
So I do believe that, and this is just me, I do believe that. Well, based on what I've read, that there are species out there that don't want it, that are studying us. We are to them, are like insects are to us, right? And it's not in their best interest for us to destroy each other. So I think as we get closer to our own to self-destruction, there's going to be an intervention. That's what I believe. I think there's going to be, well, you know what, you guys had enough, stop. And then we have to be put on timeout. And whether that means a restarting all over and cleansing this, whatever it is. But I do believe there's going to be a point where there's going to be enough is enough. You guys are just acting up. We can't leave you alone.
Do you think that that's what happened with, like, say, for example, when the dinosaurs disappeared? Do you think that it had something to do with them? They were like, wow, look at these huge creatures. Okay.
I think at a certain point, there's like, all right, we're ready for stage 2. Right? So I think it's like stages, right? We're ready for stage 2. Let's clean this out. And then again, with the flood, right? All right, we're ready for stage 3. Right, so I think it comes in stages, and we're just too destructive. We always fall to the wayside. So I just believe that it's a matter of time. That's just my gut tells me.
Before they come.
Yeah.
Before they come and make they're probably here, but before they make their presence. Well, yeah. Did you watch that show V? Remember that show V?
Yes. Remember the one where he was eating the mouse?
Yes.
He's like, mousey, mousey.
So do you think that that's what, like, do you think that we're there yet? Or do you think that there are aliens living among us? Do you think that maybe I'm an alien, or okay, you're an alien? Like, do you think that there is that?
Do I think? Yes, I think.
Yeah.
I forget about the reptile stuff, all that other stuff. Yeah. I do think that, there are watchers. I think similar to what's happened. Think about it. You want to know what you're working with. You want to know you need to stay close to your enemy or whatever it is. In the military, there are spies. In the Middle East, they call them sleeper cells or whatever it is. There are people who are there until the button is pushed to initiate. Why would we not think that they're out there watching us now and saying and taking enough information to say, all right, enough is enough with these guys. We've had enough. We've learned enough. It could be because they need our water. We don't know. I mean, think about how many planets we're trying to identify have water, and we're very unique in this solar system.
See, I wanna know the thing with aliens and with our, for example, like our space program is like, let's get out there, man. Like, I know that it's not easy. I know that it's not cheap or whatever, but like, I want to know what's going on in Mars. Like, did we ever go to the moon? You know what I mean? Like, all those things, all those questions and these things that those conspiracies. I find it fascinating myself, and I agree with you. I think there are aliens, but also I want to know, like, do you think that we ever made it to the moon? Like, is that a thing that you think we did?
All right. Okay, so the views of Samuel Vera that's not factual base. Is just what I think. I don't have any proof. I just want to put it out there. No need to start watching me. But I believe we were there and told not to come back.
We were in the moon and we were told not to come back. You think we made contact? We made contact up there.
Something happened and we were not allowed to come back. Because I believe that's the observation deck. That's the point. That's the launch pad. And that's my gut telling me that that's what.
Which is why we've never been back. Or have we been back?
That I won't be able to tell you.
Yeah, I know. I'd have to find out.
I just know. I just feel it that there's something there that scared us and said, all right, let's stay on our little planet until it's safe to come back. Let's not play around. We just went to the neighbor's yard and the neighbor doesn't want us there.
That's what you believe. So these are your beliefs.
This is just, when you look at it, and then when you hear the fact how many people are being told to silence, stop talking. You're not allowed to speak to the press. You got to sign non-disclosure agreements, and then if you do start talking, what starts happening? Things start happening. People start disappearing. Some happy accident, right?
Right.
Somebody decided to jump out of a window. All these crazy things. So I'm like, I stay away from there. I draw comic books. I just draw comic books.
No, you're right. I mean, listen, if I would love to know what's in Area 51. Like, I'd love, like when they were talking about that whole raid Area 51 thing.
Let them raid it.
Yeah, I would love to know what's in there. Like, but a friend of mine made a good point because I asked her about this. She said, listen, as soon as they made the announcement, they probably had already moved everything out of there already. Like, that area is probably empty already. Like, as soon as the government said, hey, listen, there is whatever, they were probably like, all right, give them the news because we've already moved everything out, you know? So I think that, that's probably, they're too smart, man.
Yeah, I don't know. But, if you're out there, you have anything to say about aliens and conspiracy theories, we'd love to hear from you. At this point, we are going to transition into our special guest pre-recorded interview with Jason Kruse. So we're going to cut into a commercial break. We're live with Catch the Craze podcast. I am here with our special guest, Jason Kruse, and he's been in the game for a little over 15 years. He's had an animation, he has comic books, he's done a lot of things. We've had him on the show many moons ago, and we're excited to have him back. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
So it's been a while since we've actually touched base. I know. Here and there, we've made some comments on social media, but I'd like to go back to so the audience gets to know who you are. For the new listeners that don't know, and for those who already know, where were you born? Where were you raised?
I was born in New York, raised in New Jersey. A lot of moves in between, but ultimately ended up in New Jersey, and now I'm back in California.
California. So what's that like? Why made you switch over to Cali?
What made me switch over to Cali?
Yeah.
So I'm in the animation industry, and honestly, like almost all the industries out here. So
Right.
it's where you got to be.
All right. So, growing up as a child, what were some of the things that you were into?
Well, I spent most of my time drawing various video game consoles. Went from the Atari to the Nintendo to the I want to say actually Master System, then Nintendo, then Genesis, then Super Nintendo. Played a lot of video games.
Nice. Yes, I remember. I had Coleco. Remember ColecoVision?
I didn't have ColecoVision.
Oh man, I'm going way back.
I'm sure that's not the same as in television, right? Or is it?
No. It was right before Nintendo. You had like Commodore 64, then you had ColecoVision, then Nintendo, and then from there on it just went off.
I had the Commodore. I think I used it once. I thought it came with games.
Yeah, I think the only thing I played on Commodore was it the Paper Run? What was that? The bicycle delivery boy, Paper Boy. I think that was it was like the Paper Boy. That was the only thing I played on Commodore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So as a child, you played a lot of video games. When did you realize that you had a passion for illustration?
Oh, I think I wanted to be a cartoonist. I always just wanted to draw, but I don't think I really knew I wanted to make a career of it till like 7th or 8th grade.
Right. So what
You know,
was
and
that? What was that
that's when
turning
comics
point?
were starting.
Yeah. So what was that
I'm
turning
sorry?
point? You know, you said you didn't realize that you wanted to make a career of it until a certain age. So
I think that's around the time that guys like, you know, McFarlane and Jim Lee and those guys were starting to make it, you know, starting to show that you could make a living or more.
Right.
In their cases, anyway.
So how'd you start out? So what was the first step you took when you made that decision? This is what I want to do. What was the first thing you did?
I mean, I just kept drawing every day. I didn't start really learning the principles until college, I'd say, which set me back a bit. And I used to just, in college, I would just sit there. I had the George Bridgman anatomy book, and I would just copy out of it and just try to learn anatomy and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So.
Right. And what school did you go to?
So, you know, my parents insisted I get, you know, a regular bachelor's degree. So I ended up going to Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, not Ohio State. Got to point that out. Everybody mixes them up.
Right.
And I started off actually as an illustration major, but they got rid of illustration when I got there. And then I actually transferred for a semester to Rutgers in New Jersey. And just before I got there, they got rid of illustration. So I transferred back to Ohio because I loved it there.
Right.
Ultimately, I ended up majoring in telecommunications, mostly doing script writing,
paper?
and just doing the comics on the side. I did, and I started doing comic strips for the paper, and I started realizing, hey, I don't enjoy drawing the realistic stuff nearly as much as I enjoy drawing the really cartoony stuff. You know, the Bill Wattersons, you know, Calvin and Hobbes, and the Bloom County, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So.
Right. So, what was your first? What was your first convention? Did you attend comic conventions?
First one I ever went to, the first one I ever displayed my wares at.
Your first time actually going as a fan?
I think it was 9th grade, and McFarlane, you know, that was like the height of his popularity on Spider-Man.
Right.
I think it was 9th grade. It was in New York. I don't remember the name of the convention. My dad took me. The line was like a mile long, so we were just like, we're not waiting on that line. So I never met him.
Right.
But I do remember going, and I do remember getting all the issues I didn't have.
Nice. So what was that feeling like? You're attending a Comic-Con. You have aspirations to be an illustrator. What was that feeling like when your first attendance?
I don't really remember, to be honest. I just remember. I think I was really just shopping at that point, just looking for comics that I was. You know, it was so long ago. I don't remember who I spoke with or anything. And it wasn't. It really wasn't until I think it was my freshman year of college actually that there's a guy named Sandy Plunkett who just a super talented artist, and he ended up moving to Athens, Ohio. And I went and met with him, and you know, he gave me some good advice on I mean, because my stuff was really, you know, I really needed some work.
Right.
You know, on my own. You know, I didn't know my anatomy or anything like that. I didn't, you know, it never came up in, you know, high school art and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So.
Right. So then what was your first attempt at creating was it a book or was it an animation, the first project?
So let's see. I mean, I'd say like I had the comic strips in college. That's probably really the first attempt. I mean, I used to doodle pages here and there, but I always just wanted to just create random characters. And then the first book, I was actually trying to get into comic strips right out of college because I love that kind of humor.
Right.
That kind of. So I was trying that, but I couldn't get syndicated. And then I had come up with the World of Quest. It was actually my senior year, the first semester, comic. It was a comic strip originally, and then I took it and made it into a comic book. And that was probably the first official comic that I tried to get published. I actually still have that somewhere. So it looks very different than what it looks like, what it looked like at the end. But yeah.
Right. So that would now. Did you self-publish World of Quest, or like how did you start with it?
Well, when I ultimately published it in, God, what year was it now? 2007, I think I published it. I initially published it myself, and then it was eventually picked up by Yen Press. I was their only American artist, and then they published it.
Okay, so how did you hook up with them?
My buddy Shannon Denton, who, I mean, he's the one who got World of Quest over at Warner Brothers and all that stuff. He hooked me up with them. He was going out of his way to just try to get it published.
So then, what was that process?
And
what was the process like?
I'm sorry?
What was your process like with negotiating or whatever it was that you had to do with them?
You know, I didn't have a whole lot to do with it. It was I had signed on with a management company, and basically and a lawyer, and you know, they took care of it. So there wasn't really negotiating in that sense.
Okay, so for aspiring creators who don't even know about just having representation, how did you partner with the management company?
So here I'll have to go back. Shannon Denton and Patrick Coyle had a website called comicworks.com, which I think is still out there, but they don't really run it anymore, like, unfortunately. And they had a whole bunch of industry people. I mean, I was working as a visual effects character animator at that point, and a whole bunch of industry people would just submit these comics to them, and they'd put it up, and you'd go and read it. And what happened was, Shannon wanted to pitch Quest to his boss at Warner Brothers, and in order to do that, he, had me sign on with his management company. So it was just, it was fairly easy for me in that sense. It's just like, okay, yeah. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about the difference between managers and agents. I'm still kind of confused about it, but so yeah, it's just like in order for me to do this, you got to sign on, sign management company, and here's mine, because he's also an artist writer. So.
All right. So now, was that around the period where you first attended a Comic-Con? Now, and which one?
No,
was it?
actually, the first Comic-Con I went to was San Diego, and I want to say I'm trying to remember. The first year I went was with the late Tommy Castillo,
right?
Who passed away about 2 years ago. He was my mentor after college. I took his comic book drawing class, and he ultimately was drawing Batman and doing a lot of pinups and stuff. And I was out in California. He was still in Jersey at the time, and he came out here for Comic-Con, and I went with him, and he let me sit at his table and let me sell stuff off to the side, which I wasn't supposed to do, but it was really nice, And then the following year, and this was at the time when Artist Alley, they had gigantic tables with like 4 chairs and stuff.
Right.
They don't do that anymore. And there was, half the amount of people that were there, so you could actually walk around.
Right.
And then one of my best friends, Michael Ryan, and I, Mike was drawing. I don't remember which he was drawing a Marvel book at that time, and he drew with Marvel for years. And he and I started going together because we were living together. And I that's pretty much how it started. I didn't do a whole lot of cons. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so
Okay. So what was your process like? So were you working? Did you have a full-time job at the time?
I'm sorry.
Were you working full time while you're doing shows and creating your books? Like, what was your process like? And
Oh
how did
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I bounced around the industry so much. I think when I did the first issue of Quest, I was working as a facial character animator for Rhythm and Hues on Cats and Dogs,
right,
uh, and eventually ended up working for Quicksilver Software for about 4 years in Irvine. I think they're still in Irvine. And I actually finished the first book while I was working with them. Um, yeah, so I mean, it's been a lot of feast or famine in terms of work for the industry.
right,
Visual effects, video games, whatever. So
right. So you basically were taking on as many projects as possible just to keep working.
well, I would try to find a full-time job and then work on my own stuff on the side.
Right. So then,
But
how did
the video game industry especially just has a ton of layoffs. You work, you get laid off, you got to find a job again. So
right? So then, how did you manage your time? Where would you say what time of day would you work on your craft or on projects outside of just a regular job to pay the bills? So, how did you manage your day?
I would immediately come home, and of course this was in my 20s and 30s when I had more energy, and I would come home and I would just work like all night, just on my own thing. So I guess it wasn't maybe not the most social thing in the world, but it's
Right.
just how I am.
So what's your creative process
And then
like? Do you start with you know uh, bios, character profiles? Do you start with just roughs and layouts? What's your process like?
in terms of drawing, for comics anyway, I thumbnail based on the script, and then I draw everything on the computer. So I'll just take it into. I mean, I sketch pretty much everything and ink everything in Manga Studio, or I think they call it Clip Studio or Clip Paint now. And then I don't really do the colors. So I'll do thumbnails, then I'll rough it out, and then I'll do inks or some kind of cleanup pass, and then I'll find my buddy Mazzato has been coloring the books I've been working on lately because he'd like to make it as a colorist. So,
Okay.
and that's pretty much it.
So now, before we go forward, World of Quest was on a WB. It had its own series for I think a first season and picked up for the second season. What was that like? And then what's happened to it since?
It was. I mean, it's kind of a bittersweet thing. It was. It was optioned by the Kids WB in. Geez, I think it was 2003.
Right.
It was supposed to be greenlit in 2005, but instead they had layoffs, so that half the people working on it were laid off. And then it got sort of development hell for another couple of years, and then it finally got greenlit in 2007. It aired in 2008, but then Kids WB went off the air, and it didn't find another home in America. And it did air for a second season in, I think it was 87 other countries. And I always like to tell people, fun fact, I've never seen the second season. Never seen it. I wrote an episode of it, so I haven't seen it. So, but it was bittersweet because, they really, it's really cool to get your stuff in the air, but they're going to change it. You know, what your original vision is not necessarily what they're going to end up with. So, you know, it was mixed, you know. I think my favorite part of the whole process was picking out the theme song, because that was just funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, what was it like when you wrote your first script for the show? What was that process like, and how were you approached by it? Was it your idea? Was it part of your contract? What was that like?
You know, I don't remember. I think it was part of my contract to write one episode. The first one I wrote, because I wrote one for the first season, one for the second. I kept trying to go back to my original vision, which was more of a little more serious than what ended up on screen. So that got really changed the first time I wrote it. You know, tons of stuff was changed, but then I started to, you know, really get what they were going for. And the second episode I wrote was just a lot better. And actually, it's one of the things I ended up really agreeing with what the Warner Brothers had ended up doing. And actually, it was eventually farmed up to Canada instead of actually being produced here. So it was the Canadian studio, and the head writer was, at this time I was actually living in Massachusetts. So the lead writer was out here, and I started to get more of what he was going for the second season when I wrote the second season episode. So it was much more enjoyable, and there was a lot fewer changes.
Right. So, did you ever write a script before? What was that process like? Was it?
I'm sorry?
Prior to the show, did you ever write a script before?
Not professionally. You know, I took screenwriting classes and things like that in college, but not professionally.
Wow. So what was that process like for you? Because you're usually behind the draft table, you know, creating, and now you're actually putting words to something that's going to appear in motion. What was that process like for you?
You know, I've been writing my own scripts for years, so it wasn't a huge deal. The plot was, you know, the writers would decide on the plot beforehand, and then they, you know, hand it off to us to write. So it's, you know, it's been so long since I've looked at the script or even written an animation script that I don't really recall what. It wasn't that much different from how I'd been writing.
Right.
My problem is, you know, brevity. I tend to go very long.
Right.
So,
Okay.
you know, so the second episode, I thought I finally got it. I was like, oh, I finally got the, you know, the length they wanted, and they still ended up cutting like 3 pages. So.
Nice. So what's happened since? It's been a period of time. Have you continued from that point on to do shows, produce content? What's happened since?
I got a little gun shy after the whole Quest thing, so I haven't pitched a whole lot. I've been developing a bunch of new properties. They haven't been pitched too much. I have managers who's taking care of it. I have 3 issues of this one comic that I've been working on, and 2 issues of another. Lately, I've always wanted to do storyboards, and I finally, you know, broke in this past year. And storyboards, you know, it's kind of project to project. So I just finished up working on Duncanville, which is Amy Poehler's upcoming animated series.
Nice.
And then right now it's very short term, but I'm working on Muppet Babies. But in between, I've put the comics on hold while I just, you know, continue building my story portfolio. So, but I'm developing a new property. Instead of doing comics, I'm doing it through storyboards. And my thinking being I can always adapt it to comics. because that's what I've done before.
That's interesting. So how did you come up with landing on that idea to just say, you know what, I'm going to create a comics but in a storyboard format? Explain, because I'm not sure what that is. Or maybe
because I want to be in the animation industry. It's just it just is easier, or not easier, but I just feel like it. You want to get a job in storyboards. You got to show storyboards.
Right.
But what I did, I have one called Ugg Cosmic Caveman, for example.
Right.
And I did these storyboards. And they're much rougher, and you got to do them a lot faster. But then I was like, okay, well, this is the first issue, or an independent issue, and I just took it, and I was like, okay, I took the major poses, and then just redrew them into a comic format. I just put them, storyboards are all the same size generally, except for camera moves, and I took them and made the panels different shapes and stuff, because it was all the same, the same 16:9 aspect ratio.
Right.
So it's just like, okay, and then this way people can just read it, or they can watch an animatic of it.
That's pretty cool. Now, are you self-publishing this? How are you going to get it out to the market?
I haven't decided yet. I think what I'm probably going to do is a really small press run, maybe through like the Amazon publishing.
Right.
Just little independent things. Maybe start doing. I haven't done a Comic-Con any kind of Comic-Con in a long time. I was thinking it might be nice to try it again.
Right.
And yeah, just do what is it, Amazon Print on Demand, or one of those services. Just maybe get like 50 issues. I think I kind of want to do it as some kind of trade, but maybe like take that and the other comic I've been developing, just put a couple sample issues in there, and sell it for $5 or something.
Nice. Now, how did you get on Muppet Babies? How did that work out?
The Muppet gig?
Yeah.
It was weird. So I had moved out here for a game job, and they had layoffs less than 4 months after I was working there. And I had taken, so they have you take art tests in animation, and I had just taken the Duncanville test, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Oddbot, who produces Muppet Babies, contacted me and said, "Hey, are you interested in Muppet Babies? And do you want to take a test?" So I took their test, and I got offered the Duncanville job just before I got offered the Muppet Babies job. So I had already said yes to Duncanville. I needed the job, and then when the Duncanville job ended, they just were like, "Hey, you want to fill in for somebody?" And it's only for a couple weeks, but who knows? So yeah, it's just fun. I'm drawing characters I grew up with.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty cool. Who's not if you're not a fan of Muppets?
What's that?
I said, if you're not a fan of the Muppets, you just don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. And so,
yes.
Yeah, I know that you do a lot of freelance gigs, and so what's in store for you for 2020? Like, have you planned out that year for yourself?
No, I try to take it day by day. I think my goal this year, I was getting close until I started. I was getting close, but I'm not quite there yet. Was to finish. I have a comic called Playthings. Mm-hmm. That I had. That's the one that I have the 3 issues done. My goal, my New Year's resolution was to finish the 5 issues.
Okay.
I got the 3rd. So there's an independent issue and two in continuity done. I have the 3rd one thumbnailed out. Just need to, sketch it out and get my buddy to color it. But yeah, I'd still like to get that done, and then start, getting back into cons and doing it. doing that, selling that. Other than that, I really want to stay in the TV or film storyboard side of things. Is my goal for at least for my day job.
Right.
I would love to get something else, another property on the air, or at least in development.
Yes.
It's just a matter of getting out there and pitching, that kind of thing.
Right. So for the people who are listening, what's the premise behind Playthings?
I'm sorry?
Tell us about Playthings. What's the concept of it, the story behind it?
Tell us about what? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Playthings?
Oh, Playthings. And by the way, I'm thinking of changing the name of that.
Okay.
So it's essentially evil toys who need to be good guys to save the world. Just in a nutshell.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, and it goes. I tried to keep the designs, in the vein of they sort of range between like 6 and 12 inches high. These toys, but they're mechs.
Right.
And they try to keep them in that classic Japanese super robot kind of style.
Yes.
Like Mazinger and all those guys.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. So where can people catch up with you? Check out your work.
Yeah, my website is it's just jasontkruse.com. Yeah, and I got all sorts of stuff on there.
And are you on social media?
I am. I'm on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, Jason T. Kruse. I haven't been posting too much lately because I've been concentrating so much on the story portfolio. And I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay, and then finally, I noticed you mentioned Clip Studio and Clip Paint. What other tools that you use for your creative process?
What other tools?
Yeah, whether it's applications, whether it's
I mean, you just got to. Let's see, what am I using now? So Storyboard Pro is the one I've been using mostly. I love Clip Paint, but I don't like it as much for coloring. I like Photoshop better for coloring, but I don't color much. What else? You have to know so many programs nowadays in the industry. I was working as a marketing illustrator in Utah for Wildworks, and I was there. And so I was just doing, advertisements. And, I mean, it was a blast. But you got no illustrator for that, Adobe Illustrator. I know some After Effects. Wouldn't say I'm an expert in it, but I know it. And I really, I knew some 3D, but just not as into 3D as other people.
Right. And the types of
there's just so many programs out there that that they want you to know these days.
Are you using a tablet or using traditional pen and paper?
What's pen and paper? What is that? What is this substance you speak of? No, I'm weird. I draw. I like to draw on my couch. I have a lap desk, and then I have a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro.
Right.
13-inch model, which apparently they're not making anymore. They released the new ones. There's only the 16-inch model.
Right.
It's technically, I mean, it's a very powerful computer, but it's not very portable. So, but it's essentially a tablet. And if anybody buys any kind of tablet that they can draw exclusively on, I recommend getting a screen protector with some texture on it. So it feels a little more like paper.
Nice.
But if I'm home, I don't want to sit at a desk.
Right. See, I have the opposite problem. I have to sit at a desk in my office because I have a lot of dogs, and if I sit on the couch, they think it's playtime.
What was that?
I said, for me, I can't sit on a couch because I have a lot of dogs, and when I sit on a couch, they think it's playtime. so I have to actually go
Okay.
close the door and go into an office and sit on my draft table.
See, we got a dog about a year and a half ago, and he just, while I'm drawing, we got the recliner couch, and he just likes to sleep in between my calves.
Nice.
So, not an issue for me.
There you go. There you go. So,
although I do have one of our cats he seems to sense when I'm about to start working, and he thinks that's snuggle time.
Nice. Yes, I know. I am
convinced he knows when I'm about to start working.
Yeah. To do this interview, I had to lock the door to keep my cat out because my cat will walk all over across the table and start playing with the cords.
Yeah, my wife has that issue when she's trying to study.
Yeah. So is there anything that you want to share with the audience that we don't know? Any last words you want to put out there?
No, just get out there and start drawing. Learn the principles, learn the fundamentals. Perspective, anatomy, all that good stuff.
Outstanding. Well, it was exciting to catch up with you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah, I know, and I haven't done. I think about the same time. I've been out of the convention scene for a long time, at least 10 years. So I'm planning on. I did a couple small shows this year, but 2020 is the year that I plan on going out there again with some new product. But it was exciting to touch base with you. I'm glad that you're keeping busy. I'm excited about the projects that you're working on. Looking forward to it. Thanks again, Jason, for making the time and speaking with us. And much success to you and your family.
Thanks.
Thank you, buddy.
All right.
So that was Jason Kruse, and let me lower this because it's acting up. That's Jason Kruse. The levels are pretty high, pretty significant. Herbert, we talked about this, Herb.
Jeez.
Fun fact. It's no bueno. I'm not proud of myself, George.
Oh, boy.
You would think at this stage in the game.
What'd you do? What, just...
I forgot to hit record for video.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, damn,
wow.
damn,
all right.
damn,
Well,
damn.
there it is.
That's what happens, man. That's what
Oh,
happens.
boy. So this won't be on video.
I will try to work my magic and pull it off of Facebook. We'll see what happens.
Nice. All right.
Because it's recording on Facebook. So, but another fun fact is,
doesn't sound too fun.
It's like
These aren't fun facts. This is kind of sad.
This is kind of sad. What's kind of sad is that we threw a party on the same night that Diddy threw a party.
Yeah.
Everyone was at New York Comic Con.
I was thinking about that as I'm listening to a great interview, by the way. He's done a lot of work. Jason has a lot of stuff on his resume. But as I'm listening to the interview, I'm like, shit. And I'm going through Instagram. I'm like, yo, everybody's at the show.
Except for us.
So exactly. So what's going to end up happening is...
We're not the cool girls anymore?
No, we stopped being the cool. Dude, we ain't even cougars, right? We're like in that awkward stage in the middle. No, so what's going to end up happening is, well, they won't be able to see it on YouTube unless you can work your magic. But we'll just get some...
We're going to master this day. You know what it is? I didn't trust my handy thing to hit the record on this.
Okay.
I should have just hit record on this.
Right.
I have this new Stream Deck, which is allowing me to transition and seem professional.
Well, this almost speaks to what Jason was talking about, how as time progresses, you have to know so many programs. So even when you're doing a show like this, for example, you figure, all right, just hit record and start talking. It's like there are so many things. And the more stuff you put on your plate, the more you have to now juggle. So you have things that you're juggling all over the place. But, you live, you learn. Next week, I'm sure this thing will be changed up. And
yeah, but for those people who are out there who weren't available to watch us. You gotta watch the show.
Wow. Okay.
So what'd you think of that interview?
No, it was good, man. It was very informative. I was on his website and he did do some storyboards. I think there was for one of the Fast and Furious movies too. So he's done he's no joke when it comes to those to those storyboards. And I don't know if you saw this on his website. His website is really cool, jasontkruse.com. And it's Kruse. So it's Jason T as in Thomas, and then Kruse, Kruse.
Which is pretty funny, pretty ironic that we had a cruise last week.
We're cruising, bro. 2 cruises in a row. So, but he has, if you look at his, there's a section in there where he turns his storyboards into animations. Yeah. So like there's this one where like these kids are at a gym and they're playing dodgeball, and so in one side of the I guess the website or whatever, when you click on it, all you get is just the still storyboards of like what's happening, the action, right. And then when you go to the other side, you hit play, it's that whole thing animated, right? And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I'm wondering if, I'm thinking that he obviously did the animation he's an animator. So it's not colored because, yes, he was saying, I guess his buddy colors for him. Yeah. But it's so cool to watch that, dude. It's like, that's the magic of television as we used to know it. Now you can catch it online and, it's everywhere. But yeah, no, it was very interesting. It just seems like he's done a lot. He's done a lot, man, and he's hustling. He does this, and he'll do it. He just finished this one, so he got called for that one, and it's like, it's awesome. It's awesome to hear.
Yeah, no, I think, and we talked about it on the show. At the time where he was transitioning, when we were entering negotiations with WB, is when, and they were talking about that second season. That's when they changed hands, and then they dropped all of anything that was on the table. We were one of them. And obviously, I thought it was pretty unique when he talked about how he wrote for the second season, but he didn't even see the second season. It went international, wasn't domestic. Mm-hmm. How he created something that he no longer owns. You know what I mean? That's crazy. And I get it. I think we ran across Licensing Expo. Remember that one big licensing agency? They wanted to own everything outright and give 3%, I think, of royalties. Mm-hmm. I thought that was outrageous. Yeah. But sometimes you got to make those deals to get your name out there. Yeah. But I just find it crazy how someone as talented as he is, that he's constantly freelancing. Because he's very talented. His work is pretty tight. But it's just how competitive it is. And he brought it up. It's very competitive out there,
Yeah, no, his stuff is solid. It's also, I found it interesting when he was talking about how, you create something and then they change it on you. Like what you want, the vision that you have for that particular product isn't exactly what's going to see the light of day. So like even his work, he wanted it to be a little more serious, and they made it comic. Well, I don't know how comical they made it more than what he wanted, but it definitely wasn't the same thing. Right. And when he would write something, they'd cut it down. When he'd write no, change this. And it's a constant, battle.
Right. Hence the Sylvester Stallone Rocky. Mm-hmm. He wanted to create a control. He wanted to star and direct it. He wanted to be in it, yeah. He wanted to, control the direction. And had he not, we wouldn't have probably gotten such an epic classic.
Yeah, who knows what we're...
what I'm saying? I think, but, how many people have that opportunity? I was listening to an interview with The Rock, and he was on Howard Stern, and, Howard Stern was asking him how much royalties do you get for your name because, what's his name? Vince McMahon owns the rights to your name. He goes, no, he doesn't. He goes, what do you mean? Vince owns everything. He goes, yeah, but he doesn't know my name. And he goes, I don't understand. He goes, how did that happen? He goes, I walked into his office, and I said, here's what I want to do with my career, this direction I'm going. And Vince said, I'm proud of you. And he gave me my total rights. He goes, for nothing? He's like, yeah, nothing. He goes, but that's unprecedented. He goes, yes, I know. But I think Rick, he said, Vince, well, my takeaway from that conversation was Vince recognized what he's done for the franchise.
He still does.
Yes. And so he said, you know what? He's going to be a bigger star in Hollywood. And then when he comes back and does special appearances.
He's doing one this Friday. SmackDown on Fox. He's going to be on the show. And so, the ratings are going to be crazy on that. And I think that, like you said, Vince knew that would happen. And here he is. Yeah, The Rock is no joke, bro. The Rock is no joke. Everything he's done, I mean, he's got his own, his own company, and he produces tons of stuff.
Look what they said. I think it was with that beef that he has with Vin Diesel, and I guess they didn't think that his spin-off with Jason Statham would take off, and it did $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah.
What he touches turns to gold.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty phenomenal.
He's a brilliant marketer, though, dude. The
Yes.
way he but he was like, even when he was in the WWE, like the WWE isn't. I mean, maybe it's just because it's almost like the old man get off my lawn thing. Like, it's not the way it used to be when I used to watch it, kind of
Right.
thing. But I look at some of like the wrestlers from back in the days, even in the WWE, and I know we went off topic right now, but
That's fine.
like, you had Stone Cold, Triple H, you had, The Rock, and in that era. I'm not even talking about the Hulk Hogan's
Right.
and the Junkyard Dogs and all
Right.
those other guys from that era. Then you moved over to the what were they, the Attitude Era,
Yeah.
and you had The Rock, and you had and those guys just continue to propel it forward. And I don't
Yeah.
think that they had Hulk Hogan would come in and they would use him to kind of propel that, because he had the fans that were kind of like, was dying down as bringing
Right.
Hulk Hogan or whatever. And I think they do that for the guys today, but I think that they do it even more now, dude. Like, you'll see The Rock every 4 or 5 years. Yo, dude, like, we need you. Come back and, maybe just guest star in WrestleMania. You don't have to wrestle, dude. Don't even wrestle. You just come up and talk for like 5 minutes on stage and just get the crowd going, please. All right, cool, bet. And he'll do it. Like, it's he's definitely a force. And going back to what we were talking about with Jason, it's like, you're right. Like, not having the rights to your work anymore kind of hurts. But I think that
It's depressing.
yeah,
It's just like
but I think that if I guess, and then again, it depends, right? Like, do you want to sacrifice one of your kids to make it in the industry, or not? Like, does it go that route? Because are you gonna have another hit like that in you? Like, you have to be very strategic about how you do it. And
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you can't be a one-trick pony. And if I think in this game, it's funny. I was watching us on screen, and I'm looking. You move your lips, and then I'm not hearing anything. It's because I'm talking right now, and you're right there.
Nice.
Listening. Crazy, huh?
Cool.
But I think this is where technology throws me off. I think in this game you got to show diversification. I think, if you're going to get into the game, you have to have that, which is great that he took screenwriting. I think he should write more. I think it's, he said it. It took the wind out of his sails, and so for a while, it's almost the same period of time we both vanished. You know what I mean? It's so for a while, he had a bad taste in his mouth from that whole experience. But he's back in the game, and he's trying to build his brand again, and he's doing a lot of great things. His portfolio is building. He wants to lock down a permanent career as an animator with a big studio, and my hat's off to him because he's in the grind.
Yeah.
But I think about that all the time, because next year is the year of the pitch, where I go out there and pitch, and what would I do? It has to, from
yeah, what happens, right? If somebody says to you, hey, Sam, listen, we love this. We'll give you, 250,000 or 500,000 or whatever it is, and some, and like a mention, executive producer,
from that
title on the show.
I think that for me, it would be not. It won't be a total. What's the word I'm looking for? It would be specific for if it's an animation for the series. It wouldn't be for merchandising. Like, I'm not gonna give my total rights. Like, I'd have to have a control of something. The printed material, the merchandise. I sell the product for a film. Yeah, all right, cool, that's fine. Give me producer rights.
Right.
But I need to have some sort of creative control behind it. Or if you want to buy it outright, then it's got to be 7 figures. It can't be 6. But I think it's something where you weigh your options. How close are you to your project? Because every project you create your baby, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying. Which one of your babies? That's what I'm saying. Which one of your babies are you giving away? Like,
yeah, So I think for me, it's I guess you cross that bridge when you get there. I know we weren't really to compromise back in the days. Yeah, I wasn't willing to sell for a blood contract. Which is why I have no contract. So
Yeah.
so I ended up with dust in my pockets. But it is, you never know. It's a finicky business. Are they looking for trends or looking for something new, something different? Right now, everybody's riding the wave of the comic book. Right, everyone's riding the wave. But what's great about what's happening in comics today, there's so many different styles and genres that sometimes you don't even realize you're watching a series or a show that was based off of a comic book.
Well, they've been riding that way for a while, man. If you think about it, like they've been doing that stuff since the 2003, 2004. Remember, like, because you have, and they've come up with a lot of stuff. Like, think about when they did, for example, what was that movie with Tom Hanks, Road to Perdition?
Right.
That was a graphic novel. That came out years ago, and that was a graphic novel.
Yeah.
Like you had, obviously the Hellboys that came out way back. Like this was years ago. They had Hellboy came
Priest.
out. Kick Ass. Like all of these things, and they've been riding those waves. Now what they're doing is they're just kind of hanging on to like Marvel. Like I think that the movie industry's like, thank God that Marvel and Disney or whatever had that plan for like 10 years full of movies, because where would they be without all those movies?
Right.
And at this point now, look at Disney and Sony, back and forth. Disney's like, listen, we need Spider-Man. And it's like, well, what are you going to give us of Spider-Man? Because they know the worth of these characters. Yeah. And they understand that. So I don't know how much longer that's going to last, but I think that definitely as an independent artist, we kind of have to give the industry, look, dude, you guys are doing reboots. You guys are taking movies from like the 80s and trying to bring them back. And you're trying to, because there's just there isn't any new material.
Right.
Let us give you that new material.
Yes.
Let us give you the ideas that we have, because these ideas are good, man. You guys are going to love this, but they have to give us the chance. And a lot of, and you asked Jason a question about, how did, the process, what was the process?
Right.
And he honestly, he was very honest with you, said, dude, I honestly don't know, because I had a manager and I had a lawyer and they took care of that for me.
Right.
A lot of us don't have that.
Nope.
That will be able to take care of that for us.
Right.
So we're going to have to start getting some managers and some lawyers involved, bro.
Well, I think that's the key. And we had a management company. We were represented at one point, because we recognize that we weren't equipped to handle those conversations with the wolves that were coming out.
But that was the right place, right time type of situation.
Yes. And if you're going to present something new, that's the venue to do it. If you're going to connect with the decision makers, that's the venue to do it.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean? But you have to have it. I think we were naive, but fearless. And that fearlessness, that ignorance was overpowered by fearlessness. And so we didn't know what we didn't know. We just said, you know what, we're going to go out there and...
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
You were just like, let's go, man.
Yes.
We're young, we're like, let's do this.
It was pretty fun, and I think as there's a point where I don't want to lose touch with that juvenile approach, because when we start thinking like an adult, we play it safe.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that Peter Pan syndrome, right?
Yes. You know what I mean? So I thought it was a fascinating conversation with Mr. Kruse. Unfortunately, we picked a night where everyone's at New York Comic Con. No bueno. But they're having fun. I don't blame them. I would be there too. It's like we had all these caterers here and the musicians in the band, and nobody showed up to the party.
No, man. The DJ's getting paid anyway, though. So he doesn't care.
Yes.
Watch the show.
Yeah, you need to watch the show. All right, you need to watch the show. So what do we got going down the pike? So this is the third guest.
Yep.
Tres.
Three.
And so I know that I've had people reach out to me already.
Yep.
So have you?
Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to start extending invites to some people, and George and I, we're going to work on the calendar for the next shows. But we would love your participation. We'd love to hear from all of you. What you think of the show? What would you like to see more of? I'm excited. what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that it's going to be good. I think the next few weeks we're going to have some more guests coming on the show. A lot of independent artists. We're going to have some mainstream artists as well, and we'll go from there. I mean, with the live shows, I think are great. We just got to pick a night that people are actually home.
Yeah.
Wednesdays, I think, seems to be a good night. So yeah, next week we'll be back.
Yeah, because I had let's see, let's pull it up. Where is he?
Who's that?
This is me on my Jake Estrada reached out.
He's got a what does he have? He has
is it Bocas?
Bocas, yeah.
Yes. So
Sweet, man, get him on.
yeah, he produced this indie film, and he sent me this amazing pitch. I'll read it to you guys. Where's my reporter friends? That's how he started it. Bocas on Blu-ray, and he worked on it. Large Hispanic cast. And it was all done with a very small budget. This film came out fantastic, in his own words. So we're gonna schedule you. I heard you. We got you. We got you. And also our boy in LA.
Which boy in LA?
Goodness gracious, Barbados. Sam.
You have a lot of boys in LA. I don't know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, you do. El Muerto.
Oh, okay, yes.
Javier Hernandez.
All right.
Yes, it's the Hispanic Revolution.
Okay.
So we're gonna
Hispanic Heritage Month, bro. October.
There you go. Right.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's do that. I definitely want to have, and I was telling you about this earlier. The state of the comic book store industry. We kind of want to delve into that, and I definitely want to have like one of the store. Anybody who owns a store, if you guys want to come in and maybe just tell us a little bit about your experience as an owner of a comic book shop and where that's going. How are sales? How is it? Having a store? Are kids still coming in to buy comics every Wednesday like we used to, or is that dying down? What are the trends? It'd be interesting to find out. So I definitely want to have somebody from a store in here, and so we'll have some stuff down the pike.
Yeah, so we're putting it out there. So if you are an artist, you're a writer, you're a musician, if you're a cosplayer, if you're a comic book shop owner, if you're a convention promoter, we want to talk with all of you out there. So if you're out there, join our community, write to us on Catch the Craze, let us know about you and your product or your venue, your business, and we'll book you and we'll get you on the show.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right. So I am your host, Sam. Well, you know what I don't appreciate about you, George?
Why don't you appreciate about
you have the radio voice.
I have that voice.
You have the radio voice.
Now you don't want me to sound like
yeah.
Batman. I have that voice.
Yes.
That sounds creepy.
And I sound like Leave It a Beaver.
No, you don't.
Yes, it's like
dude. Listen, man.
It's like
shut up.
I'm just saying. I'm listening to your voice. I'm like, you got Mr. Suave over there, and I'm over here with this nasal passage sound. It's ridiculous.
That sound like a no. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, thank you for Michelle
Michelle
and Keith and Jenny Garcia. Thank you all for joining and listening in. We love your feedback, and thank you everybody else. We'd like to, by the end of this year, to have 1,000 people in our community.
There you go.
Right, so it varies. It varies based on different platforms, like on Instagram. It's
so you want to do it like a combination, 1,000 between all platforms, or 1,000 per platform? Because that's big.
Here's what we're gonna put out. I'm gonna put out a poll. Would you prefer us to be live on Facebook or YouTube? So
you can go live on YouTube.
Yeah,
I sound like an old man right now. You can go live on YouTube.
Jace, you can go live on YouTube. Yes, so either Facebook or YouTube. Which platform would you prefer us to be on? Number 2, help us get to 1,000 by the end of the year in our community. That'll be great. And we love more and more feedback. And, again, I am your host, Sam the Crazy Man Rivera, and I am with
George Medina.
George, the Dreamer Medina.
George.
Right? And we will see you guys very soon. And I am going to switch it off to the credits.
All right.
And
peace.
You the show.